She pulled into the driveway, turned the engine off, and reached for her keys. Before she could step outside, a bullet shattered the quiet. This is the story of Singwa Namhla Mtwa, gunned down in her car at home. A single life loss that ignited a country's outrage. Singwa Namhla Mtwa, often referred to simply as Namhla, was 35 years old and a municipal employee from Mthatha in South Africa's Eastern Cape. Colleagues described her as a woman who worked and lived in the community she loved. On April 21, 2022, as she arrived at her Sidwadwa home, she was shot and died at the scene. The manner of her death and the circumstances that followed would expose a pattern of abuse and spark an outcry against gender-based violence in her province. According to police reports, Namhla was shot multiple times while inside her car in her driveway. She sustained gunshot wounds to the upper body and was declared dead at the scene. Local residents and family members were stunned. The killing happened in public daylight in a residential area, and no suspect was immediately arrested. News outlets reported that she had been shot 9 times. A brutal act that left her family and her community demanding answers. In the days that followed, Namhla's sister went public with troubling claims. Photographs and video clips circulated on social media showing Namhla with visible bruises. They also showed screenshots that the family said came from the victim's own phone. Messages that they asserted pointed to prolonged abuse. Those posts ignited a national response. Hashtags like #JusticeForNamhla trended as activists and ordinary citizens demanded that the police investigate the possibility that her death was the culmination of long-term gender-based violence. Family allegations implicated a partner. He denied wrongdoing and asked the public to let police handle the investigation. Media reported he had previously faced unrelated charges years earlier, a detail that raised tensions but is not proof of guilt. The criminal justice process must follow evidence. The killing drew attention from the highest levels of government. South African Police Service officials deployed senior investigators, and the National Police Minister visited the Eastern Cape, promising priority resources. Provincial leadership publicly urged a thorough probe. Officials said they believed there was sufficient information to pursue leads, and urged anyone with relevant information to come forward. Still, arrests were slow to come, and that delay became a focus of public frustration. Namhla's murder was not an isolated incident. It arrived against the backdrop of a national crisis. South Africa records extraordinarily high levels of femicide and gender-based violence. Commentators say a woman is killed every few hours in the country. Activists argued that Namhla's death exposed systemic failures such as warnings ignored, reports unfiled, as well as victims who suffered in silence. The case became a rallying point, another name on a list of women whose deaths demand structural change. Investigators said they were building a case. Community leaders called for transparency, and activists staged marches demanding swift arrests. Namhla's family insisted the signs of abuse were visible long before her death and that systems had failed her. Officials maintained that detectives were following leads and that the public's involvement could be crucial to solving the case. As of reports published in the immediate aftermath, no final resolution had satisfied the family's demand for an arrest that matched their certainty about who harmed their daughter. Vigils were held. Activists vowed to keep her name in the headlines until justice was served. The Eastern Cape Premier and police leadership pledged oversight. Namhla's sister kept pressing, sharing evidence, and calling for accountability. The public response, anger, grief, the demand for answers, made it clear. People will not stop pushing until every woman can be safe in her home. A woman arriving home should be safe. A driveway should not be a crime scene. Namhla Mtwa's death is a reminder, terrible, immediate, and personal, that the work to protect women and hold perpetrators to account is far from finished. If you have information that could help investigators, please contact the SAPS or Crime Stop. Speak up. Be that witness. Help turn outrage into action. Let Namhla's name spur change, not only in headlines, but in how communities protect one another. Rest in power. Rest in peace.